welcome to the Level Up Your Band podcast, episode 59. Hello, and welcome back to the Level Up Your Band podcast. My name is Gavin Patterson. I'm here with Julian Pombo.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm a bit. I'm just a bit exhausted. It's been kind of go today, as I was telling you before before we started recording. For the people at home, basically, I went shopping, and then I went to IKEA, and then I built this chair, and I still have loads of things that I need to do today. I got a desk as well, but I'm waiting until I get this desk that I have here sold until I build it, because I don't want to be I don't want to like build the desk, take a picture of the old desk, and then
Wait for ages.
And then wait for ages for somebody to buy it. So I'm happy to just kind of wait.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But that's it on my end. Just IKEA trips. Going to IKEA was really weird.
Yeah,
it was like click and collect.
Right.
So but it was very the social distancing was like extra. I had to really they were like talking to me from like quite far away. It's like, who are you? What's your order code? This. Okay, cool, bye. It was just weird. And the whole place was empty as well, which I've never been used to.
Yeah. No one's queuing up for the meatballs.
Yeah. Or taking their kids to the play park, which is a thing that they do, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. They have like a soft like play area for kids, and people actually, it's just one of those.
It's a day out.
I don't know if it's the same everywhere else, but it is a day out.
I remember when IKEA first came to Glasgow, it was like, oh my god, everyone every weekend was like, you going to IKEA? We're going to IKEA. Do you want to go to IKEA? Everything, it was like the biggest attraction in town when it first came. Must have been like primary school or something. In the early 2000s.
To be fair, those meatballs slap, man.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah.
They're amazing. And the food that they sell there as well, they have these frozen like cinnamon rolls. Anyway, that's enough buying for time. Let's talk about today's episode.
So with the sort of light at the end of the COVID tunnel,
yes,
they keep talking about, this summer, July being the first time that we can play gigs.
I think that's
so like I'm kind of buzzing. So I just want to just start talking about live performance again, because we haven't really talked about it in so long.
Totally,
it just feels so blooming irrelevant.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about some of the more boring admin-y stuff, which has been good. And if you've listened to those, like, you're a trooper, man. Like, 100% thank you, and you'll be much better for it. But yeah, live performance. What is that?
Well,
what the very specific thing about live performance, which is how do you actually perform a song good in front of people?
Yeah,
which is just a silly way of saying how to sell a song to a live audience.
Yeah,
but yeah, how play song good in front of
how to play song
humans.
Good. Yeah, I'm just gonna today's Tuesday. Yeah, Sunday there was a year since I've played a gig. So
actually, yeah, you're probably right. It was probably the same for me.
I don't know how rusty I'm going to be. I think this week for everyone in Scotland anyway. I don't know anywhere else, but this marks like a year that anyone's played a gig. There has been social distance gig. I don't.
There's been like some things, like I played I played a virtual gig,
right?
But by play virtual gig, we pre-recorded it.
Yeah.
Like 3 songs and sent it away.
Yeah.
So not much of a gig.
So
anyway. You get the idea.
How to sell a song to a live audience. So this is a wee bit more complex than I first thought. So it's not just about, standing up on stage and singing the song, doing the thing and then going home, right? So there's actually quite a lot
everybody's going to be super impressed, like, oh my God, they played the song, wow.
Yeah, when I first started out, like I was 18 playing in a little crappy Glasgow metal band. It never even crossed my mind that it is something that you don't really think about as a musician in the band. You just think about the part you're playing and you go home. But especially early on, you're not thinking about you're not really thinking about how are people receiving this? How do I look? Do I look bored out of my mind? Which I did, especially early on. I was just sitting there, like hardly move. Like everyone's guilty of that at some point. There's a lot to it. So we'll give some examples just to start off of some people we think sell songs well and are like most known for selling songs in a live setting. Number one, in no particular order, although this one is probably the greatest example of how to sell a song and how to win over an audience, and that's Freddie Mercury of Queen.
Yeah.
Like, just hands down. If you've got 5 minutes to spare, just type in Queen.
Just watch a live Queen performance, from when Freddie Mercury was alive.
Yeah.
Like throughout the whole, their whole career, he was just a total showman,
Yeah. So he used sort of theatre and performance, and he was very dramatic. Like that's how he got the songs across. That was his style. It was all like pantomime, like really over the top stuff.
Yeah.
Another example of someone who just really sold a song was Michael Jackson, and he used different things. He wasn't as showy and as showmany as Freddie. Freddie was quite, quite like aggressive, like right up front, really, in your face. Michael was more. His was more. It was dance routines. It was props and costumes and big elaborate set pieces, and like Queen's like rig it was very, very simple. It was literally just drums, some amps, guitars, and some lights and a big stage, and that was it. There was no real like crazy sets and stuff.
And a microphone stand that Freddie Mercury could
carry around.
Hold.
Yeah. It's pretty simple. So, but the two of them, like you would say, like they knew how to sell a song. When you think of certain songs, you think of some live performances, like Billie Jean, for example, him moonwalking. It's iconic, completely iconic.
Yeah.
Another example would be David Bowie. So he used characters.
Yeah, he just straight up made up people.
Yeah.
Look into it. Like he came up with like kind of, I want to say it's like 5 different characters or something like that. But you have Thin White Duke is one example. Ziggy Stardust, that's another one. Then there was just, I'm pretty sure David Bowie was just a standalone character at one point. It's me, kind of.
Playing a
there was a really cool documentary about it. I want to say it's like a BBC documentary. So you could probably catch it on the iPlayer. I can't remember what it's called, but just David Bowie on BBC iPlayer, you can find it.
Yeah.
As long as you have a TV license, then you're all good.
Yeah, David Bowie, like similar to Michael Jackson, but it was like costume and stuff. His was less about dance, obviously.
Yeah.
There was no. I don't think there was any dance routines or anything like that.
Not really.
It was
no. For him, it was more about the storytelling and the music and
theatrics.
It was very theatrical, but
Yeah.
It was like that. That's exactly. It was more theatrical than probably Freddie Mercury and Michael Jackson.
Yep. Moving on to a little bit more modern. I've got a couple more. Bruno Mars, which was kind of modern. It's like he's been around for 10, 15 years.
Yeah. I mean, like he's been around for ages, but his stuff's still getting played.
Yeah,
so.
he's kind of more like around the Freddie lines. He's like Freddie with more dance routines.
It's like Freddie Jackson basically.
Kind of, yeah. He's not as obviously he's totally different in his own thing. He's very similar to Michael Jackson actually, but just maybe a bit less, theatrical. His performance, he's got dance routines, nothing as complicated as Michael Jackson, and he's got that sort of showmanship thing.
Totally, and it's from the same kind of vein as like other people that I would consider probably quite similar to Bruno Mars would be like people. The other one I was thinking of is Justin Timberlake. So his shows are very similar to that. Beyonce as well. Like a lot of them are just, those three put on very similar kind of shows where there's a little bit of dancing, there's singing, there's playing, because I don't know if Beyonce plays any instruments. I would have thought so, but I know Justin Timberlake and Bruno Mars are musicians as well. They know how to play play stuff.
That helps,
which is unusual nowadays.
Well, yeah. There's one more. I missed out one, which is probably the most obvious example of costume design. Kiss.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. Like their biggest selling point is their makeup and costume and all of that. It's just mental. There's no greater example of that. So how do you sell a song? So just by looking around at the most successful people out there, there's a lot of stuff to think about and some stuff that you can implement in your own band. This is the whole point in doing this, level up your brand. Hey. So I've jotted down a few more things that sell a song. If you can think of any, please add them. So
I totally will. Yeah.
From actually being on stage and doing the thing, well, the most important part about playing live is the audience. So a lot of these artists incorporate audience participation.
Yeah,
it's a big part.
Audience participation is a bit of a tricky one. We'll carry on because I do have some things to say about it.
Okay,
but finish your thought.
So participation in the sense of, think of Freddie, the A-O, all that stuff, it gets the crowd all up. Even Michael Jackson had bits and pieces with audience participation, with the, people would be dancing and dressing up as him, and it was very, it's like an event. It's like, there was one time, it could be like 5-10 years ago now, Lady Gaga was playing in the SECC, and I was driving past one night and saw the queue, and it was like a Halloween party. Like everyone was dressed up in all these weird get-ups, and it's just, everyone's like a part of it. They're participating in this event. It's such a big deal. And being able to capitalize on that is, an example of that with Queen, if I'm right in saying, they wrote Radio Gaga and they designed it to be audience participation, so they could go, all we hear it, na, 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 and they can just imagine the audience in the big auditoriums or the stadiums. It's a
very singable chorus,
Yeah,
like anybody can sing that. It's almost like it's just a chant,
Yeah. So that's one.
Yeah. The thing I was going to add with audience participation is that if you're wanting to do it, think it out carefully and don't push it on audiences, because there'll be some audiences that just don't want to. I've been there. Where there's like I don't know. We've done we've done a cover of something, where there is like a audience participation part, and people are just want nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Just leave them be. But you should be able to. You'll get better at this. Just like you'll know from an instant, like
work,
that, whether that's gonna work or not.
If it's your own crowd, chances are it'll be fine. But if it's a crowd you've never played to before, no, it's
it all depends on the music as well, and you can totally hype people up. I've seen it happen where there's been a band playing and the audience has just been a bit flat and sad and whatever, and then another band has come on and totally riled them up. Actually, this is a really old example. I don't even know if they're still playing, but have you heard of a band called The Hives?
Yes, I think so.
Swedish band.
Maybe.
I want to say they're Swedish. I think they're Swedish. They're a perfect like rock band example. They basically do what these guys that we just mentioned do. Like they've got the costumes, they've got all that stuff, and they just have super high and just high energy. And it's quite infectious, even when you're just listening to a recording.
Right.
It's very 2010 though. I'll say that much. Like the music, it's very of its era, but it's great. It's that sort of classic, like it's that sort of like 2010 like indie hard rock kind of sound. It's cool though. It's a cool band. If you haven't heard of them before, go check out The Hives. They're good stuff.
So it takes a charismatic frontwoman to sell this, because if it's like, hey, dance along if you want to, clap along. Sometimes people like to do that.
Yeah, man. It's tough. As somebody, I'm not officially, I guess, but I do a lot of the fronting in Eriska. It's usually me and Scott do it quite a lot. We just get a microphone put in front of us, and it was kind of it. I'm not an extroverted person, really. I'm quite introverted. So doing that, the fronting stuff was a struggle, but eventually you just sort of you find a groove. Maybe I should do just an episode on just totally fronting a band. I don't know.
What we should do is we should make that the topic of the episode, but not give you any notes. So you've just to come up with it on the cuff. So it's exactly like a live performance. It's like you're under pressure.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. Let's do that next week.
Let's see.
I'll be down for that. I mean, I obviously have to sort of think about it, but I'll have a week to sort of think about what I'm going to say.
I'll just ask you probing questions.
Yeah, I'll just write a set list, of topics.
Yeah.
Right, thank you very much. Now this next topic is going to be anyway. But after a while you just sort of you know what? I'll come back. I'll put a point on this. I'll come back to it because it adds on to like a different.
Okay.
It's got nothing to do with audience participation, really.
Right.
At this point, but yeah, being a good frontman does you need a good frontman, and if you are the frontman, you need to you need to work on it. It's gonna sound like practice what you're gonna say.
Yep.
In the shower or in front of a mirror.
Yep.
Or just rehearse stuff if you need to. If you're like a naturally exuberant, bubbly, charismatic person, then you probably don't need to. But
I've seen
otherwise,
I've seen some frontmen that just they say nothing and they do nothing apart from just play their guitar and sing. they just stand there in front of the mic, and then at the end of the night, cheers, thanks for coming, bye.
That kind of reminds me of the Milk Carton Kids, which is like a country Americana duo. It's two lads, and one of the guys, I can't remember his name, fellow with long hair and glasses, does all the chat.
Yeah,
and it's hilarious. It's like a stand-up comedy show,
right?
But he's totally serious. He doesn't laugh, nothing. It's just like stone cold, just talks,
right.
And then they sing these beautiful ballads. Anyway,
I've got one example.
Similar kind of idea.
I've got one example of someone who has virtually no charisma, and every gig he goes to, he just, all right, this song's called blah, right? Okay, cheers, right? Great, bye. Is ELO, Jeff Lynne. He's so blah as a personality, but he brings along massive like set pieces and props and spaceships and flying things, and like he's got other stuff that sells the music. He's not. If he was just coming out and there was like nothing else, I mean, the music is great.
Yeah, totally.
But it needs like the music needs all the lights and all the sparkles and stuff, because
it depends on the music, obviously. But like for that kind of music, definitely, you know.
Imagine ELO's set, but Nirvana playing, it just wouldn't work. With spaceships flying around, like.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
No.
But you're right, 100%. Like, it depends from band to band, because a lot of bands, there's a lot of bands that I've seen where, you know, they don't have a lot of crazy stuff going on, but if you want to have some visuals aren't super hard to do.
No.
You know, like, let me look, how much is a projector these days? Projector. About 70 quid, apparently.
Okay.
300 at most if you want to get a really, really fancy one. You know, just get a projector, laptop, hook it up.
Screen.
You can get some pretty cool visuals behind you if you want, you know?
Yep, it's a step in the right direction anyway, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, totally. Like, if you want to have something that's a little flashier,
yep,
then totally go for it.
Yeah. So we were saying
nothing stopping you.
Audience participation. We'll get a wee bit more into that, but like things like I touched on a little bit, dance routines and costumes and dress codes and stuff. Like, there's some gigs where people dress up for the gig. Like they come to a certain person who's playing. I don't know, and they dress
important, man.
They dress up in like costume, and they have set dance routines and things. Obviously, that's not for everyone. It depends on evaluate what type of music you're playing. What do you think would work with your music and your set and your audience? You'll know. When you first start out, it's hard to engineer this stuff right away. It's virtually impossible. You need to get and dip your toe in the scene first, and then be like, right, okay, I think this would work. I think this type of thing would work. Like, for example, our crowd, audience participation goes as far as you can do. What some jazz gigs, you see this occasionally. They'll get the audience to do like a call and response thing, and then they'll jam to the call and response. I've seen that done loads of times.
Or like, when it gets to this section, sing this thing or whatever. It's totally doable.
That's the type of stuff that we can get away with.
Yeah.
But we couldn't get away with, I don't know, mosh pits, for example. That's audience participation, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It is
100%. The costume dress code one is an important one I'd like to touch on, actually, because I really think that people don't really think about it super hard. It can be something as simple as let's just all dress in black, like black t-shirts and black, black trousers, black shoes, right? That's already striking enough,
Right.
And it's so simple. So try it, or a black shirt or whatever. But if you want to try costumes, you can start as simple as that.
Yeah.
Just generally, it makes an impact on the audience. It doesn't matter what extent it is. If you're like a math rock band or something, I don't know. It depends on like who's listening, I guess. I like math rock, but a lot of math rock bands are very boring looking.
They look like they've just walked out of the audience.
Well, it depends on where it comes from. Like Japanese rock bands, like math rock bands, tend to really nail the aesthetic, but that's just because Japanese fashion is like next, like Korean fashion is like next level. We're dressing up like peasants over here, but like from 50 years ago, they're living in like 3021, man. But like I'm thinking like sort of Midwestern emo bands. They just all wear flannel shirts and jeans and Converse, and they just look sad, and that's about it. Occasionally you'll get one guy who has a beanie. Basically they dress like me. Don't do that. They dress like me, and they're down. This is me in my downtime.
Even a side fringe.
This is me just like, oh yes, 100%.
Swooping side fringe, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently there was a whole thing on like Gen Zers are like, oh, side fringes are not cool.
It's millennials.
And make you look old.
Yeah.
Stupid millennials are old, and I'm like,
yeah,
cool, whatever. I don't care.
We are actually, you and me are now. We are the millennials, and there are 2 more generations after us now. We're now on Gen A. The babies being born now are Gen A, Alpha Gen. We're back to A.
Jeez.
Yeah, so Gen Zers are actually not being born anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway. But dress code makes such a big impact. I noticed it with I did this. I guess this advice works for wedding bands as well. But my wedding band, we made a conscious effort. We really thought about what we were going to wear, and we were like, let's actually like coordinate what we going to wear. So we decided that our front woman or singer was going to wear a red tuxedo, and we were all going to wear navy blue suits in the background, and I can wear a tie. Our drummer wears like a bow tie, but it's undone. Our guitarist just has his shirt open, and it's like, okay, it's super simple stuff.
Yeah.
But when you view that promo video, and you compare it to other bands, that video stands out because you're like, those guys are coordinated. No, we're not just looking like that for the video. That's the plan, to look like that.
Yeah.
For every gig that we play, right? And yeah, you should just give it some thought. If it's applicable, then do it. Like if you're in a punk band and you've got a mohawk already, and you're quite comfortable just cutting about with your shirt off, then do it. Because it'll make a big impact, or if not, just that mohawk itself,
Yep.
will make you stand out, or whatever. I don't know. Just basically give it some thought.
Yep.
And it can be as simple as just all wearing black.
Yep. It's something at least. You don't want to look like you've just come out of Starbucks, or just gone to the shops.
Exactly.
Yeah, nah, not into that.
Yeah.
So another way of selling a song or selling a performance, stage direction. So that's choreographed set, lights, sound effects, all the stuff.
Yeah, which kind of goes back to we mentioned it kind of with the sort of like stage direction, like with like, you know, sets and lights and images and spaceships and whatever in the background. ELO, we mentioned it. Yeah, it's super simple. There's programs that you can get, you know, like if you have your own lighting rig, which isn't super expensive. It's definitely, you can definitely save up for it and get one. Like we got one for the wedding band, and we run it all through a laptop. And we've got it set up for certain sets and songs.
It's all the same as MIDI. It all works kind of similar to MIDI.
It is. It's crazy.
So you can program, just like you can program synthesizers to play notes, you can program lights to display light, and different colors and different
to react
times
to certain sounds.
Yeah,
and channels,
set up a microphone, all that.
Yeah. So like your kick drum, you know, you can set that up.
Yeah.
To trigger a light that just keeps going for a certain song, for example, if you like.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting idea.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with stage direction. Rather than just coming out, playing a set and going home, you can make it a proper event. You know, have some intro music, or the band comes out and plays like an intro. The singer comes through halfway through the intro, makes a, you know, like an entrance. Oh, this is the singer coming through, like all that stuff.
Yeah, totally. Spotlights and things like that. Like, and this is the kind of thing. Like, if you go on a tour, like say you don't have your own person that does lights, although, you know, if you have the money to pay somebody to do your lights for you while you're on tour and they can do that, that's pretty cool. But yeah, like as long as you have like a good lighting plan, you can give it, and a stage plan and stuff, you can give that to whoever is working on the venue, and he can do that for you. You know, you can say to them like, oh, by the way, this is the set list that we're going to play. After this song, we'll obviously announce it, you know, like, and after this one, our, you know, in our case with our band, right, our piper plays solo. Yeah, for like two or like one of the songs, like, our bass player plays solo. So if you could just shine a wee spotlight, on him, that'd be great. Although to be fair, a lot of people are quite they're pretty quick with nowadays. You know,
they can see what's happening
with the lighting on the fly and improvising and stuff. So but they'll really appreciate that. Do you know what I mean? Like they're getting paid to do that, so they'll appreciate having you know. Getting to do something interesting, something different, you know.
Definitely. So,
and it'll make an impact as well when you're there. They'll be like, "Oh, that band really cared," you know.
Another aspect of trying to sell a song, something we mentioned a couple of episodes ago about flow state. Now, someone who's selling their song and absolutely killing a performance, and just everyone's totally engrossed with what they're doing, those people are usually in a flow state when they're doing that. Nothing can stop them. Like they're just totally in the zone. You're not going to be sold a decent performance by a person who's struggling to remember the verse chords, or looking around to go, oh, which bit is this? Is this the bridge? Like that's not flow state, man. You're laughing because it happens all the time.
So I've been that person.
Same.
I'm like, although occasionally it's the case has been that something was supposed to happen and it didn't happen, and then I was like, oh, okay, so we're on to this bit now. That's fine.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
You know, you go to the bridge, nobody else did. So you're like, well,
yep, alternative version.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
Yep. It's just artistic license. I don't know. Another one is the instrumentation has been properly thought out. So if you've got a big heavy lead singer and they're trying to go out there and sell this song, sell the performance, absolutely give it their all, and there's a horrible piercing lead guitar part over the top of the chorus playing in the background that just drowns out the vocals every time you play it. Address that stuff in the rehearsal studio. If you can't hear the vocals because somebody's playing a lead part, get rid of the lead part and get them on chords.
Yeah. Or if it's like or similar scenario, you know, if you're an acoustic band, you've got a violinist and your violinist won't stop playing all the time. Tell them, like, can you stop playing over this bit? Or like, if you are, could you like do something like this? You know, something more rhythmic. You know, stuff like that.
Yep. Don't drown out the focus of attention, which should be the lead melody, whatever that happens to be.
Totally. And this, I guess, this goes back to maybe like arranging a song. Layering is so important, man. Like, don't. It doesn't have to all be all go all the time. You know, take a couple of instruments out. You know, it makes such a big impact. You know, like even just like for a second, you know, just having just bass by itself and then everybody else come in. You know, it can be or whatever, just vocals and drums can be a really cool sound. Just things like that, and layer up. Yeah.
And really... the last one I've got here is the sound quality volume is good. / volume is good.
Yeah, so
that's you're never going to sell a song, you're never going to sell a performance if your sound is bad. It's just not going to happen. So that's why you need a good relationship with your sound engineer when you arrive at the venue. Assuming if you're going to a venue and there's a sound guy that you've never met before, introduce yourself, be friendly, be nice.
Goes without saying.
Yep. And if you are on the road with someone who doesn't know what they're doing, or claims to know what they're doing and won't take criticism and won't take direction, that's another problem.
So you're saying if they're being a roaster?
If they're being a roaster, yes. If you say we can't hear this instrument every night, oh, it's fine. We don't need to hear that instrument. Blah blah. Like, okay. And you're getting complaints saying, "Oh, the drums are just far too loud. It's just ridiculous. Can't hear myself think.
Bass is too loud."
Yeah.
You know?
You'll hear that. You'll hear that stuff. I'll give you an example of something that happened to us. We, for our album launch, about 50 million years ago, it feels like, we played this. Remind me the name of the venue. I can't remember.
The Flying Duck
in Glasgow. And it's not a huge bar. It could maybe fit like 150 people in one tiny wee room.
No, they changed it up a lot.
Right.
And they've changed up the layout a whole bunch of times. But yeah, it's not the biggest venue.
So
the drinking area is bigger than the venue.
What sound engineers love to do is, right, you've all been there. You get to the venue and it's you're setting up the kit, they're setting up their mics, they've got 300 mics on your kit. You're like, oh god, right, just overkill. And then kick drum and it's dum dum dum, and it's like the loudest, it's like a cannon. And then it gets to the snare drum and it's like a nuclear explosion, and it's just so loud. And then they finish doing the kit, right, move on to the next instrument, and then by the time they get to the vocals, they realise, oh, the kit's too loud. Because I can't hear the vocalist now. I'm pushing the vocals so high that it's just feeding back. Oh no, what we're going to do? Especially in small venues. Small venues do it as well. Small pubs and venues and clubs. They just, it's like drums, then bass, then guitar, then vocals. Do it the other way around. Start with the vocals. Go back. Because you want to get the vocals as loud as they can and as clear as they can without feeding back.
And work around
that.
Yeah, man. I think I don't know what they're telling people at college. You know, when they're learning to become like, you know, sound engineers and stuff, like live sound engineers. But it's just gigs are way too loud.
Gigs are
like
far
especially
too loud,
like small gigs. Like what's the point of going to see a gig if I have to wear earplugs? Do you know what I mean? I remember for that gig actually, our album launch, we ended up like just we suggested to the sound guy like just turn the drums off.
That's what I'm going to say. The sound guy in the venue turns everything up, right? And the drums are the loudest thing in the room, and we've got like tin whistle, fiddle, accordion, like really, really guitar, quiet instruments, right?
Yeah.
And then our sound engineer, Mia, goes up to the desk and she's like, oh, Christ. So she just goes across the first 8 channels, which is all drums, and just mutes them all. And I think she maybe kept a little bit of bass drum, just a tiny bit of bass drum to come through, just to give it some beef. And immediately the mix was 1,000 times better, because that room did not need a full kit mic setup. There's no need for it whatsoever. It was because we're a largely acoustic band. The emphasis should be on the acoustic instruments first, and then the electric instruments.
Totally. Yeah, man.
So that's the type of thing you need to look out for. In like most people listening to this will be in bandy bands with guitars and stuff, but the same applies there. You have several acoustic things in your band. Drum kit is an acoustic instrument, and vocals is an acoustic instrument. What is louder, a vocal or a drum kit? A vocal,
a human person.
A vocal is never going to be heard above a drum kit in real life. So
yeah,
drums are always going to be louder. So by that logic, start with the quietest and get it comfortable, because you know you're never going to get it comfortable when everything else is blaring to from here to Kingdom Come. It's just never going to work. So with all this information, try and think of things to better your performance. So I was tongue-in-cheek here. Maybe you can't afford a £3 million lighting rig, but surely you can do more than simply stand on a stage and sing a song.
Which is kind of what we're saying. Maybe you can afford a £60 lighting rig.
Yeah.
A projector. Actually, while I'm here, let me Google up some
go for it.
Stage lights.
So I think it's always good to put yourself in the shoes of the viewer, of the audience. What would you like to see if you were standing down there looking at you? And you think, I'm hardly performing, I'm just playing my instrument, I'm not really jumping about, I'm not really engaging with the audience. Do I really want to see the band like that? Not really. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on from band to band. With things like math rock, and shoegaze and things like that, it can get a bit boring to watch, because there's just a bunch of dudes with their guitars and they're looking at their feet and their pedals and things like that.
What you're saying is you might as well just turn up at the venue and play a CD on the PA.
Yeah, maybe. But with somebody who is doing singing, singing on stage, playing a guitar, maybe that's the only thing that they're doing. It's just them. You can. What was I going to say? You can totally do that, and there is a way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah,
and you don't need to be fancy, but at that point you become, and this is another, I've been talking with Rachel about this, this is another thing that's just sort of been lost over time, is just, I'm gonna bring out an old word here, that nobody's ever been called before, or hasn't been called for a long time, but just, being a bard of sorts, if it's just going to be you with a guitar and just a microphone, you're no longer just a performer, you're a story, you really need to go the extra mile.
Yeah.
You can't, at that point, you can't really, you've already got the balls to stand up by yourself and perform.
Yeah.
Might as well go the extra way and, be witty, tell some stories, really talk to, and get familiar with the audience. Do you know what I mean? Like, it comes back to this. It's like, and we mentioned this a lot in a lot of episodes. When you're a musician, it's different for us, kind of, because like we're in different roles quite a lot of the time. And for me as a bass player, and you as a drummer as well, they are mostly just background roles. We just sit at the back and we do our thing. I try and look as interesting as possible when I would do that. But when you front, which I've done as well, you're no longer just a musician. You're a comedian,
an entertainer.
And it's your job to make people happy and sad and laugh and cry and just be entertained and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I don't know if I've told this story, but there's a band I used to be in when I was younger, maybe my late teens, and it was an old. I've maybe said this before, but it's fine. It was an old sort of variety big band thing. It was maybe like when I first joined, it was like 30 members, and then when I left, it was like 6. It's gone down, but it's mostly retired people and some kids from school who've never played in a band before, and they want some experience. So I played a couple of gigs. When I say a couple, maybe 20 or 30 gigs for a couple of years with them. And there was this one evening that we were playing in a fairly decent sized venue in the south side. It was maybe like 500 or 600 people watching. And it was just, the stars aligned. Like, it's a variety band. It was a variety orchestra. So we had a singer. It was an old guy, came out and sang some songs, and he also did some comedy routines, and he would tell some jokes, and it was a fun evening for folk. It's aimed at older people coming out and seeing. But this particular night, the band leader, had a story to tell that added to the set. It was the first time she ever told it, and it was about how she delivered her granddaughter in her bathroom. Basically, and she told this story through the whole gig. It was absolutely genius the way it was told, and it was it had just happened like the week prior, and she told it at this gig, and it was just the way she told it over the span of the whole gig. So it started off like, she goes into labour. Oh no, what we're going to do? We're going to do panic, panic, panic. And then she calls to her husband, who is a bass player in the band, incidentally. He was sitting beside me at the gig. And she calls over and she's like, call an ambulance. And then she's like to the audience, and what do you think his reply was? And his reply was, what's the number? Because he's panicking. He's like, what's the number? Right? Audience laugh. You get the picture, right? So she's describing the events of, right, the ambulance isn't coming, it's taking forever. Let's get in the bath, all this. And then she pauses, song, right? And she's doing this all the time. Tells a wee snippet of the story, pause, song. And she builds it up so much. By the end, there was this woman in the front row. She gets like a wee bit agitated. So she's telling the story again, and then she's a bit before that, let's move on to another song. And then she jumps out her seat and goes, come on, let's hear it. Like they start to get proper animated. Like they were like really loving this story. Like, and it's such a cool, it was happened by accident, this story. And it was an amazing night. People really loved it.
Definitely, like as well as watching and trying to emulate all your favorite musicians, when you're playing. I love stand-up comedy so much, and I really do try and pick up on what some people are doing. Like, not necessarily jokes, obviously, don't steal jokes, but just techniques and ways of delivering things and ways of telling things.
Yeah.
And find what works, what works, what feels more natural, what works best for you, and you'll find a groove. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I want to hear the end of that story now.
Well, she delivered her granddaughter.
Well, thank goodness.
That was the end of the story.
Oh, but you did give me this.
And then basically, just as the baby was out, the chap at the door and the ambulance guys there, comes in and goes, "Oh, okay, we're all done here," and just took her to the hospital, looked her over, and that was that. But one last thing, which kind of this is a separate thing. So my dad he does drama and stuff, amateur dramatics and things, and he puts on shows like pantomimes and plays and stuff and events. And he maintains, and he's quite right, the moment you step into the venue, you are part of the show. So what I mean by that is, like, typically when you go to a place, you get in the venue, you're walking about, okay, in through a hall, go to the toilet, come back out, ticket booth, into the main hall. You're hanging about, and it's just, you're still in your normal life. But when my dad puts on a production, as soon as you walk into the front doors of the auditorium, you're in what he calls Panto Land. So he's got the place decorated like you're in a medieval castle. They say it's set in a forest. He puts like props and stuff up. Like, I know it's quite extravagant, but there's music playing in the background, like Tweety birds and like whatever the set or style of the theme is. Yes. It doesn't matter. But you've got to feel like the show has begun and the curtain hasn't even opened yet. That's how it should be for a gig. And people who do this really well, artists who do this really well, they really do it well. So you walk into the venue and there's posters and flyers and merch stores and background music's playing of, specific music to hype people up. Usually really, really long songs with drones, building up tension. Horror movies use that kind of stuff all the time. You might not notice it, like sound effects and stuff that it gets you all hyped up.
It definitely, you notice it in the cinema, it's always going to be like a really, 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 really subtle bass rumble you don't quite feel, and that sound really
Paranormal Activity, the film's Paranormal Activity. Whenever a ghost is present in the movie, they play this low-end rumble to build up tension. Now, you can use that kind of technique in background music when they're hyped up for coming on.
They did the same thing in for you gamers that are also listening, Phasmophobia, which is like it's like a co-op ghost hunting game. It's terrifying, but like when you're outside, it's dark, whatever. But you're outside and it's fine. As soon as you enter inside the house, it's like,
yeah, it's horrible. Like, yeah.
and you hear like little things here and there. Yeah. It's terrifying,
So that's like learning from that is take that kind of that human. There's a sort of instinct of something's coming. It's. Make it known we are playing here tonight and you have just walked into the venue and you are under our control. You are now under our influence. We are going to entertain you and you're in for a good time. You don't want them walking in the venue and it just feels like they're walking into Primark to buy some shoes. It's like it's a proper experience. I'm at a XYZ gig. I'm at a your band name gig. This is I've been looking forward to this all week. It's going to be so good. So basically, anyone can play a gig, but it takes extra effort to host an experience. And it's not expensive. You can do all this stuff for really cheap. You just have to put in the extra effort.
Yeah, totally. I 100% agree.
That's the great thing about live performance is you can do this stuff.
Yeah, you can. Well, I was just gonna say there, like, if you want to get your own stage lights, you can get like a rack of 4 for about 100 quid, like Gear for Music, and they're like RGB. You can set them up with that sort of MIDI system if you like, and you can do stuff with that. And like a monitor, a projector isn't expensive. You want to project stuff, either, and things like that.
Wee things like that go a long way.
They do. Yeah, they do. 100%.
Cool. So that's all I've got.
Smoke machines, I'm not so sure, but
yeah, ugly drummer.
We have
lose him with some smoke machines.
My wedding band has a smoke machine actually.
Oh yeah.
We've used it once, and we were like,
nah. not for weddings. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just very loud, and off-putting.
Yeah, we've got enough stuff to set up,
and it smells like crap. You're in a pretty big band though. There's a lot of people in your band, isn't
we
there?
have a lot of gear. Like it's mental.
For us, it's pretty easy to set up. And Gilbert, shout out to Gilbert, by the way, if you're listening. Just loves that kind of stuff, techie stuff.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was good talking about live gigs again.
It was good. We'll definitely do some more. Talking about playing live, especially once we can start playing live again. How to get back into live performance after lockdown.
Perfect. Perfect episode title. Yep.
That'll be yeah.
How to remember
once we've
how to
experienced
musician.
a couple. 5 tips.
The top 5 tips and
top 5 tips
coming out of lockdown.
Stuff like that.
Anyway, as always, if you enjoy the podcast, please review us on wherever you want to listen. Like on Facebook.
Leave us a comment if you're on YouTube, etc.
Like on YouTube, share, tell your pals, share on social media, and feel free to download some of the free downloadable PDFs on the website. If you fancy that, just have a wee look. There's a few to choose from just to help you with different things. So next week will be episode 60. Jeez, 60 episodes. Who knew?
Jeez.
So until then, hope you all have a great week and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.